We'll come to order. We will begin the 6 o'clock portion of our agenda for resolutions, proclamation announcements, or public hearings. The two items that are on the agenda for tonight is a public hearing, resolution number 22-11-965, amending the zoning resolution of Anderson County, Tennessee by rezoning parcel 14.03, Anderson Tax Map 087 from A2 Rural Residential District to C1 General Commercial District. Also is a public hearing, resolution number 22-11-966, amending the zoning resolution of Anderson County, Tennessee by rezoning 4.06 parcel Anderson County Tax Map 003 from A2 Rural Residential District to A1 Agriculture Forestry District. We will start off tonight by asking for a show of hands of how many people are planning on speaking for or against any of these zonings tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4. All righty. So here's what we'll do. How many will be speaking for the rezoning? 2, 3. And how many will be speaking against the rezoning? All right.
We got the address. Is this the Andersonville address, or is this a different? Because there's two different parcels. So I didn't know.
Doesn't specify. It doesn't specify.
Can you give us the addresses?
Parcel 04.06.
I don't know that I have an address. I don't know that either one of them has a
Oh, okay.
physical address. They may or may not. I can give you the parcel number for each one.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. It's on there, just the general location, because I know.
Okay, so Stardust is the 406 parcel,
Okay.
and then the one, excuse me, on Oliver Springs Highway is 01403.
Okay.
Some of them might be.
So OS Highway is the 14.03 and Stardust is the 4.06.
Yes, sir.
All right. So everybody know which pieces of land you're here to speak about? Okay. What I'd like to try to do, just so we give everybody an opportunity to speak tonight, don't want to feel we've cut anyone off, but to get everybody a fair, ample time to do that. Those who are speaking against, we will ask you to step up to the podium first. When you arrive at the podium, please state your name and your address, please. We will give you approximately 3 minutes. When your 3 minutes is up, I'll wave at you or whatever, and we'll move on to the next speaker, and we'll see how much time we have left after everyone gets an opportunity to speak. All right? So who wants to be first to speak against the parcel on Oliver Springs Highway? No one wants to speak against the rezone, Oliver Springs Highway. All right, ma'am. If you will come on up to the podium, please, state your name and your address.
My name is Bonnie Shoemaker. I live at 453 Oliver Springs Highway, and I am maybe 500 yards from the parcel. And there, I live right in front of a Autumn Ridge subdivision, which is there's a bad intersection there. The visibility is really bad, and there's been some close wrecks. And this is just right below it, and there's another Marlowe Circle Road right at that property. That's another intersection, so that's a busy highway, and you know, it's a safety issue. But on top of that, it's also an aesthetic issue. I have some neighbors here. We live there in that area, and it's a beautiful rural farmland, and we don't want to see a commercial building there. We just don't want to disturb the rural residential. So there are other areas on down Oliver Springs Highway that are commercial, I believe. You know, there are some businesses in there, but we don't need to have it here.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you for your time. Anyone else want to speak against the rezoning on Oliver Springs Highway? Come to the podium, state your name and address, please, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Rice. I'm here with my wife, Judy Rice. We live on 120 Ivy Lane, which is right off Oliver Springs Highway, just right down the hill from Marlowe Circle. And we have a view of that whole area over there. And I would like to echo what the previous speaker spoke about, the hazards and dangers of that location, because you're coming up Oliver Springs Hill and you come down the hill there, and the line of sight to that area is not very good until you get right up on it, and there are a lot of transfer trucks, logging trucks that come down that road pretty fast. And since we've been living there 40 years, we've seen a number of accidents at Marlowe Circle where that intersection is already. And so this location is right next to Marlowe Circle Road where that intersects with Oliver Springs Highway. And I think it would just be a really bad location for a commercial item of whatever the plan is. And also, I would like to echo that the whole area there is very rural, and you can see views through that area of the mountains, and the whole area there is just this type of a commercial location there would be really out of character in the whole area in that one corner as you come down, and right below it is Anderson County Memorial Garden, the cemetery. So we were somewhat shocked when we realized that someone was thinking about putting a commercial business here, whether it be a Dollar General or whatever is being considered. It just is totally out of character with that area, and also an extreme safety hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak against the rezoning on Oliver Springs Highway? No one else? Anyone wanting to speak for the rezoning on Oliver Springs Highway? Come to the podium, state your name and address, please, sir.
Hello, Dean Russell, 494 Oliver Springs Highway. I've lived on Oliver Springs Highway for about 25 years, give or take. Irregardless. I had a rental there. I turned it into a rental for a couple of years. But anyway, I've had that home for 25 years. My property is directly across from Marlowe Circle, where Marlowe Circle comes out onto Highway 61. While I understand that there's maybe some issues with my neighbors regarding the traffic, I don't really have an issue with, my understanding is possibly a Dollar General going in there, which I think would be very convenient to our area. I have no issues with it. I think it would probably be good. I think the Dollar General, if that is in fact what's going to happen there, is a pretty good building, and I can't see it really affecting our property values or anything. So I have no issue with it. I'm kind of for it, really. That's it. Thank you.
Sir. You, sir, go ahead, sir. Your name and address, please.
My name is Steve Mullins, and I'm at 341 Marlowe Circle, and I am the property owner of that piece of property. That piece of property has been in a commercial setting for the past 25 years. That was a rat house where they furnished rats or mice to the plants. When I bought that probably 3 or 4 years ago, I started tearing that down, and I own the property that the gentleman talked about behind there. I own that. That property, I've cleaned it up. I've made it look better. I tore the buildings down because it wasn't probably the best thing to look at. But that property borders on a state highway. Directly behind it, bordered the whole length of it, is a railroad track. The lay of the land don't lend itself to put a house on it, plus the value of the land don't lend itself to put a house on it. I raise cattle and horses. It's not anywhere I could put cows or horses on it because it's not big enough. I don't want it that close to the road. So this place lends itself to be a commercial property. When Dollar General approached me, I was skeptical because I don't really sell land or whatever. If somebody knows me in the area, I own some land and I don't sell much. I was skeptical, but I talked to the ones that all along the back, Bill and Lisa Witt, They thought it was going to be great. I talked to a couple others. They thought it was going to be good before I ever said that I would sign that contract. But a little bit about Dollar General. They give back to the community. They give out grants, literacy grants within a 20-mile radius. They do a lot. And I have a place in Crossville on the water, and a Dollar General up there. I mean, everybody goes to Dollar General. They got a little bit of everything. And so when you talk about people coming out of Dutch Valley, and I understand these people right close, you know, they're worried about the looks of it. This Dollar General is going to look a lot better than he's been there 25 years, or they talk about. That building I just tore down was, you know, terrible. So I'm going to make it look better, I believe, or I know it's going to look better. And I just think it'd be good to community. And the ones right around there, I understand that it could be a problem if you're next door to it. I could understand that. But I believe that overall, for the community, a Dollar General will be good for that area. And it don't lend itself to build a house. It don't lend itself to go agricultural. Only thing that lends itself mainly is commercial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wanting to speak for the rezoning on Oliver Springs Highway? Anyone else for or against Oliver Springs Highway? We will move on then to the property located on Stardust Road. I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't see. Were you wanting to speak on Oliver Springs Highway? Can you pick her up on the microphone, Andy? Okay.
I just wanted to add that, I do agree with, Mr. Mullins, that the parcel is kind of an odd location, an odd shape. But, when you think about having a Dollar General, a commercial building or anything, you would have delivery trucks, you would have customers, and a lot of traffic that would be coming just for that store. And I mean, for people that, are turning in or turning out, it's kind of a complex, intersection, because you have State Highway, which has quite a bit of traffic, then you have Marlowe Circle like that, and the parcel of land is just right here. So it's really, kind of an odd configuration. And you would have not just customers, you'd have big delivery trucks, something to consider for traffic and safety.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for or against Oliver Springs Highway? All right, we'll be moving on to the start. Commissioner White, go ahead, sir.
2357 Dutch Valley Road. I represent that area on this commission, and we have had 4 calls this week in favor of this project. I go out that road every day. I have seen 2 or 3 wrecks there in the last 25 or 30 years. And Mr. Mullins is right. He did tear down an eyesore when Dr. Kyle was raising mice there. That was a building that we all looked at every day. I think that if you've never lived in a rural area, then you don't know what it is to need a gallon of milk right quick, or a loaf of bread, or a pack of cheese or something. I think it would be awesome to have a commercial building, a commercial store right there on that corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else for or against the property on Oliver Springs Highway? Going once, going twice. All right. We'll move on to the property located on Stardust. Whoever wants to speak against, if you would, come to the podium, please. State your name and address. You'll have approximately 3 minutes. This is against the rezoning on Stardust.
Good evening, Jim Lathrop, 160 Anchor Lane in the Stardust development. I don't know if you're familiar with the area at all. It's just a small community, a residential community. I'm not sure even what the plans are for this area. I've never even seen that. As of last night was the first time I've heard of this application for a commercial building in this area. Is there any plans that we can see or what's been proposed? I don't even know that. I worry about that, my neighborhood. We don't have facilities for any commercial traffic, stuff like that. We have or trailer parks or campgrounds or whatever like that. We have a huge campground going up the side of the hill beside us now. I don't know how we're gonna handle that influx of people. This is a very small little area. One way in, one way out. I don't see how this is gonna be beneficial to anybody. I'd really like to see some detailed plans of what's expected to go in there. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else against the rezoning on Stardust?
Would have to get this foot operated on right about now, so. Tim and Shirley Bibler, 187 Harbor Club Place. I guess I'd start out saying I'd really like the commissioners to take a really good look at this before they decide, because we bought our property, I guess, about 5 years ago, and we bought it because of the residential area there. A nice community, looked like the area was going to grow, which it has been. We invested $1 million there, and to see something like, and again, I'm in the same boat, I don't know exactly what's going on, but if it's a campground, if it's a trailer park, I mean, all you're going to do is reduce the values of the homes there that are, it's a nice community. The road, and we haven't even talked about the traffic there, there's no way it would take the amount of traffic that some type of commercial property would have there. So I know if we would have purchased our property knowing that, we would have never purchased it. So there are people there I know that have purchased property, they're wanting to build, and if this is something that's going to happen, I mean, I can't speak for them, obviously, haven't even talked to them, but I would say there's a good chance they'd just back out at this point, because it's just not, that area is just not what people want for a campground or trailer park. Thanks.
Okay. Someone else speaking against the property on Stardust? Your name and address, please, sir.
Andrew Tytuskin, 164 Anchor Lane. I am above this property. Our HOA sent out a little map. I looked at this property. It has an address on the statement here, 140 Stardust Lane, and they have reworked that. It looks like they tried to put a couple lots in for campers or whatnot. A lot of this property is just steep and undevelopable, but at the other end, which is on Harbor Club Place, it borders Harbor Club Place and Harbor View. That is a part of the development that has the condos and it's the neighborhood. And if they were going to access anything from that side, it wouldn't be, it's like going into a residential area to go in somewhere. Like everybody else, we don't know what they're doing there, what they're planning. We can see they've done some work on the lower end. Upper end has an old trailer frame there. It's been there for a couple of years. Hasn't moved. It's an eyesore. It's got brush grown up all around it. They had filled in the lot next door with a lot of fill dirt from other work they've been doing in the area, but the edge of this sort of angles down to that lot. There's a lot of big boulders and scrap logs and everything that's been dumped there. It's just, without knowing what they're going to do, if they're never going to access Harbor Club and it's only coming down from Stardust Lane, that's a different story. But I would say at least half of this property borders those two streets that are part of a nice residential area. And we've already had issues with the Stardust, Stardust coming through the neighborhood speeding, running stop signs, almost hitting pedestrians. So we don't want more issues like that. That's all I have right now.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to pause that just for a second. Is there anyone here tonight speaking for the rezoning? All right, if you would, come to the podium, please, say your name and address, and we'll get back to those. Just want to make sure we get equal opportunity for each side.
All right, Dan Lovely, 140 Stardust Lane. I do own the property there. This is not going to be a trailer park, so just so everyone knows this. The area going down to Stardust Marina, and on one side you've got, if everyone knows where Stardust is, you've got RVs, if you want to call it, already there, stationary. I do have an area that is going to be on Stardust Lane where you could put an RV in. You could put maybe 3 or 4 in. I plan on using one of those for myself and maybe put another 2 or 3 spots in there with full hookups, okay? The top portion on this particular lot, which is 5.83 acres, also borders another .87 and another .87, 2 other additional lots, which I do own and does border the Harbor Club properties, but is not part of their homeowners association. I'm not asking about those 2 particular lots. My game plan on those 2 lots would be to put homes on those lots, okay? What I'm interested in doing is going down Stardust Lane, that particular section right there. Basically, you pull in, hook up, enjoy the marina. So the zoning itself is zoned for mobile homes, both A1 and A2, but I'm not asking for the rezoning for that. And then as far as, you know, I've been there on weekends where it's extremely busy. Once you get past Stardust Lane and you do get up in the residential area, I personally have not seen any of the speeding or stuff like that. But again, I don't live there full-time in that particular area that you're all talking about. And this is not for commercial. It was another, this is going back over to another ag zoning. And I think at some point, the game plan is to make all the agriculture zoning the same in Anderson County. That, you may know more on the specifics of that than I would. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone else wanting to speak for the rezoning on Stardust? No one else for the rezoning on Stardust? All right, we'll go back. Those who oppose the rezoning on Stardust, come to the podium, please state your name and address, please.
My name is Jim Clare, 711 Pinnacle Point. I'm part of the Yacht Club condos. I also serve as the vice president of our HOA. As everybody stated, this is all new to the owners. We have 56 units just in our condo facility. We have 54 owners out of that. It is crowded up through there. We have no idea what the plan is. And as everybody else has stated before, it is a hairpin turn if you come down and you try to turn back to come down Harbor Lane. He mentions being able to put in 4 or 5 spots on the Stardust side of things. I've been at Stardust for 16 years. I don't know where he's going to put them. So I just kind of question the ability to do this and not create a problem. Again, we have a lot of owners. Nobody was aware this was coming up. Nobody was aware this is being voted on. I've had a couple owners say that the sign that was put up to say this was going to be voted on kind of wasn't really put in the spot that we're talking about. We all turn in that way to go to our condos. So I'd like to see a plan. I know the other owners would like to see a plan. More importantly, we'd like to not see it done because, as the other people have mentioned, we consider ourselves residential. And I know the gentleman said 2 or 3 lots are going to have homes on it. But we'd like for the value of the land and the homes to be built. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else speaking for or against Stardust Lane tonight? Please state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Marion Wojak, 211 Spinnaker Drive. We are the first home when you come into the marina, off of Spinnaker and Harbor View. The area where I believe the gentleman is talking about putting campers is right at the bottom of our hill. We have been there 6 years. We've experienced heavy traffic. I have an animal that I walk. I've almost been hit. Every time I try to walk the dog, I've had the police come in. People run stop signs. They throw trash. I don't understand how you can take a residential area and turn it into commercial and put 2 or 3 types of camping, waste, water, electrical. How's that all going to be handled? We have an area down below that there's a station that pumps the waste out. Atrocious smell. Plus the extra volume, like the gentleman stated here, those are hairpin turns. It's very dark, it's very dangerous. I don't go out at night walking because I'm worried. In the summer, I'm very careful. There was a boat trying to come in, a pontoon boat, couldn't make the turns. Excessive traffic coming into a residential area. There's another park being built behind us. I don't know why we need to keep adding more spots, especially in a residential area, for more camping. I don't think the Stardust Marina is doing plenty above the hill building spots in. And I just don't think that we should lower our home values by bringing in more camping, plus the type of people that you never know, you could get squatters. You could get people that will pitch a tent out there and start getting bad areas in there, and I'm totally against the devaluing our property to have 2 or 3 more spots. I'd rather see the gentleman put the homes on the property that he was talking about. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
Could we get Danny to chime in on define the 2 zones, just for everybody's information, what he can do right now with A2, what's different about A1, and maybe talk about the plan to combine the zones?
Well, the difference is that in our zoning resolution, there's a specific mention for the permissible use of campgrounds in an A1, while there's not in an A2. And when you look at the 2 zones, put them side by side, there's a lot of similarities, and as a result, as we're going through our zoning resolution, we are looking at combining those zones, because again, there's not really a whole lot of difference when you get out in the county in between those 2 zones. But primarily, again, the reason he's going from A2 to A1 is the result of the specific mention in the zoning resolution that a campground is a permissible use. Now, the Planning Commission gave this a recommendation based upon the fact that that is right there at the lake, and while some people look at it as a residential type area, which most of it has become that, some people look at it as a recreational type area. And then straight across from where, Mr. Lovely is endeavoring to rezone, there is another campground, a very large one going in up above it. So, we take a very neutral position. We get it to the Planning Commission. They give a recommendation based upon the land use plan. And, I can see it both ways. But as far as the zoning is concerned, that's why he is trying to go to that particular zone.
But if the agricultural zones combined, and then he's technically, without a zoning change, he just becomes allowed to do that, you still have to take a site plan. He's still going to
Sure.
have that hurdle to go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this
Plan.
would be, of course, as y'all know, just to change the zoning, a site plan would have to be submitted. And when you look at kind of the topological features of the property, I mean, it's not suited for some big massive campground. It's very steep. And as a matter of fact, I found a hard time finding the appropriate place, because what you see in the office, what you see out in the field, sometimes a lot different as to where to put the sign. So if I didn't put it in the best place, I'm sorry about that. And of course, we sent letters out to all contiguous property owners, and this property is not in their homeowners association. This is not a part of that subdivision. And there's 2 parcels that separates the 5 acres. He owns 2 more parcels before you get to a different zoning, which is R1, I believe is what it is, which is typically what your subdivisions are.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions for Danny? Commissioner Yeager?
Was this a unanimous vote from Planning Commission, or do you recall?
I don't recall, but I believe that it was a unanimous vote, but again, please don't hold me to that.
Okay. It was. Okay. If we, no matter what we do on this, will this be the only time commission hears this on either of these properties?
It will be for the county commission, but not the planning commission.
Yeah.
Because he can't, do the campground without submitting a site plan.
Okay.
Yep,
All right, well, just letting everyone know this will be the only time we see this.
yep.
Any further questions for Danny? Any further comments from the audience?
Chairman,
Commissioner Foster?
I do have a question, sorry. Before I know we're rezoning, looking at rezoning it, but if he wants to do campsites, and then he talked about a house on the other half of it, would he have to divide that property? Can he put 3 campsites and a house on that same piece of property? Does that have to be parceled up?
The parcel that he would want to put the campground on would be separate than, there's 3 different parcels there.
Right.
There's the 5 acres, which he is talking about the campground, and then you have 2 other parcels separate from that, so it wouldn't be the same.
I thought he spoke about having I know he's got the 2 other parcels, but did he not say you wanted to put a permanent structure on that same 5 acres with the campground? Or did I mishear that? The other 2 parcels, okay. There. Answer my question.
My neighbor next door to me.
Sir, if you come up to the podium, please, and stand back. And I don't mind giving people maybe a second time to speak, but I don't want to go around the mulberry bush 3 or 4 times, especially if we start repeating comments that have already been made. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to throw in, if I'm right here at 140, literally the neighbor who has the lot next to me has an RV that's already parked there full-time.
Okay.
And I
thanks,
just wanted, it's on that same Stardust Lane. Okay,
Thanks,
it's
sir.
been there for years. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Not hooked up or hooked up?
Hooked up. Full power, has a mailbox. Okay, yeah.
Ma'am, do you want to speak? Okay, if you'll come to the podium, please, state your name and address.
I'm Abby Kaiser. I live at 131 Anchor Lane in Harper Club, and I'm the secretary of our HOA. We sent the word out, and I know our commissioners got a lot of emails. I've got 15 to 20 on my list already that sent emails, wanting to know more information, and also very stressing that we're a residential community. And my question is, in looking at the map, our property in Anchor Lane is an A2, whereas the other part of the HOA is R1, which I believe is residential. So I'm going to do my homework going forward to educate myself on the difference of all that, but it just seems to me, putting the angle in because he wants to put his RV, yes, on Stardust. There's been one trailer there for a long time, but you all just also approved, and they have in 6 going up the lane with a curb, pads, hooked up to septic, I believe, and then as you go all the way up the hill. So I'm talking on the entrance to Stardust, which I'm not sure is a county road or a private road into the marina. But then our neighborhood has a different entrance, which then comes down and connects to that. So people use both. When they have big boats, it's very narrow through there. So you've created already kind of a bottleneck of 6 stacked up trailer sites, which I question because I've heard that they're going to use 2 of them and rent out 4 of them. So to me, that lends itself to a commercial campground. Also above us is the campground that they've been building for the last 2 years. It has 50 stacked, like a herringbone, RV places going all around a very, very steep hill. They've clear-cut it. So someone was saying, you said you went in there and thought it couldn't be done. Well, we've been watching it be done up on the hill above off of Ridge Circle. So we're feeling very imposed on with a campground pressure up against our residential neighborhood. So we're really looking for more clarity. I mean, I know
Ma'am,
if you want to do what you're going to
If
do.
you could address your comments to the commission, please.
Anyway.
Thank you.
I'm not trying to be too hard on him, but I still feel like what he's presented so far is on the vague side, so we definitely need more information.
Thank you.
And I would hate to see you vote, this is your only chance to do it, and we can't go backwards then.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, folks, if we could start. Come on up, sir. Name and address to the podium, please.
Good evening. My name is Dave Kramer. My address is 175 Schooner Lane. I'm a resident of Harbor Club Association there. 9 years ago, I got involved in Harbor Club when there was limited, or 3 houses in the neighborhood. I am now in the middle of building the 16th home in that neighborhood right now. And the first house was in 2012 when we built it. So for 10 years now, I've been involved in the development of or growth of the Harbor Club Association. I own 7 lots. I did own 7 lots in Harbor Club, and I own 2 condos in YCCA. And during that time, I was very adamant that I wanted to see these 2 entities pulled together. You've got condominiums there, and you got homes that are from $600,000 to $1.5 million. And when you live in a neighborhood and you've got a very expensive house, you don't want a, I'll call it what some people think is a cheap condominium next to your HOA or next to your development. There's 2 different condominiums in Harbor Club in the Stardust area. One group of 8 of them sat idle for nearly 3 years before somebody bought it and revamped them and finished those condominiums. Today, the YCCA, those 8 condominiums, and all the homes in that neighborhood look a lot better appealing-wise than what it did when I was involved in Harbor Club 9 years ago. Since then, I've become an owner there. I live in that neighborhood, and the last thing anybody wants to see is any devaluing of property. So we have learned to work with change in a neighborhood, but to allow more campsites to be added to what's already there. There's a campground above Stardust Marina that's been there for a number of years. As somebody has mentioned before, there's 50-some campsites being added right now and in the process of being built. There are several along Stardust Lane that have recently been added, individual spots, and to add even more is a lot more campsites than there are home sites or condominium sites is what it's becoming. I understand Stardust Lane, that goes down to the marina, and I understand doing campsites on that street. But anything that would be added on Harbor View Drive or Harbor Club Place Road is part of Harbor Club subdivision. So you would have to drive through the subdivision to get to those sites if any of those areas were used from either of those 2 roads. So I speak opposed to the campsites. I willingly accept new houses being added there.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smallridge.
Right. Danny, could you, for my benefit, if no one else, explain again the process after, if this is turned down, the commission turns it down or approves, what happens following that?
Okay, so if it was approved, Mr. Lovely would bring a site plan to our planning commission, and, they would review that site plan there and potentially approve it or deny it based upon, the sufficiency of the site plan. If it's denied here in this meeting, the rezoning, we would have to ask Mr. Yeager what the next course of action would be, because I don't know another step that could be taken if the rezoning is denied here. So we, I guess, ask Mr. Yeager what would happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Esmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And especially for some of the new commissioners, when it comes to planning commission, it's almost like any other board that you've got checks and balances, you got check off the boxes, and they come. And a lot of times they'll get preliminary approval before they start spending a lot of money. So when they come to planning commission, if they meet all the rules and regulations of that, a lot of times it's approved. But we don't have people that come and speak either for or against, and maybe that's something we could change. But just probably, it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, that we approved a zoning change, just like this for the other campground. That's just, right down the road. But when it comes to planning commission, it, they come in as for preliminary approval before they spend a lot of money. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Name and address, please.
Hey, can I ask him a question?
Commissioner Foster, go ahead, sir.
So I know you said you guys are looking at combining those. How far down that road are you with that, with planning commission? Like, are those heavy discussions that y'all are having that you looked at, or is just preliminary talk?
We've been in discussions for several months now, doing workshops. Typically, here recently, they've been taking place after our, monthly scheduled planning commission meeting, where at one time we was doing it at a different night. But for the convenience of everybody, we started having those workshops after we do our planning commission meetings. And, of course, any of you commissioners are invited, of course, to all of our meetings, but also those workshops. Because, there's a lot of things planning-wise that we really need to be putting our minds to in this county with people coming here, because there have been a lot of people coming here. So, we can get off into the weeds there, but there's a lot of things we need to give our minds to when it comes to planning. And so you guys always have an invitation to come to those workshops that are after our regularly scheduled planning commission meetings. And we still got a ways to go on the zoning resolution.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thanks.
Yep.
Come on up, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Tammy Whitaker. I live at, what's my address? 632 Pinnacle Point. Got a little nervous here, I guess. Proud owner of a condominium there. I don't know if any of you have ever been to this property, but I'm just gonna describe it to you because I feel like it hasn't been adequately described. This is the Stardust area property. So at the base of all this community, there's a beautiful marina. Part of this marina, there's a campground that's been there for years. And then on the other side of the marina, there's a residential area. This residential area, like Dave spoke about, it was growing very slowly for a long time. And then the condominiums that are right on the lake were built, and that's where I live. So to me, and when I listen to everybody talk, North Lake's a beautiful recreational area. I get it. Some people want to come there and just boat for the day. Some people want to camp. Some people want to live there year-round, like me. So I get that everybody's needs need to be served. However, what hasn't been adequately described is where they're talking about putting more campsites is clearly in what is viewed as the residential area. So if there's going to be campsites, there needs to be adequate buffer between these, over $1 million homes. My condo's worth near $600,000. I don't think I deserve, as a property owner, to have a campsite right next to me. And there's room for everybody to do what they need to do, but we need to properly plan for that. And this specific area where they're talking about, you come down there's two very steep hills. One goes straight to the marina, and that's where recently campsites were added and where the existing RV is that was spoken of earlier. The other steep hill is that goes to the residential area. And where the parcel that's being talked about being rezoned is partly in this residential area. It might not technically be, but it is viewed that way. You turn on our road, which is all residential currently. There are 0 campsites on it. And I also would challenge, if this gentleman plans to put homes there, why isn't he applying for R1 zoning? Why don't we just go for that zoning? Why are we putting in for this campground zoning? We don't want people coming in there for a week at a time. I don't want to drive by.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak for or against tonight, Stardust Lane? Go ahead, sir.
Hi, guys. Hey, now, I'm actually not a property.
I'm sorry, name and address, please.
My name is Nathan Mullins, and it's nice to see you again, sir. My name is Nathan Mullins. I'm technically not a property owner, but my boat, our family boat, is at Stardust Lane, so we do contribute a certain amount of money in that lake area. And we pay for the renting of the boat, the time, the space, that when we get the whole family out there on the pontoon boat during the season. Let me reiterate some of the good points that some of the property buyers have made on this side of the county up in Lake City area. When we go with our family and we dock at Stardust, our boat's already there, we get out of the car as a big family. When we go down the way, we're already seeing trash. We're already seeing the stuff that people have left behind, the people that do attempt to camp. And I would like to draw attention to the fact that when we go in and out of there with our boat, other boats that we try and dock together with our other family boats occasionally, the roads were carved back in the day when there was barely enough room to get two narrow 1940s cars by each other back in the day. There's just not the infrastructure to allow for a higher amount of traffic, a higher amount of visitation, and people just generally coming for a few hours. So far it has been for boaters. So far it has been for people who have bought into and paying into the community locally up there for the use of the property. I have been to the other side of the lake. I have done business in that particular other campers area, and it is if I may comment, it is practically subsistence living. There are seasonal employees that work over there, and they're barely scraping by. And to cut out another swath of trees so we could put another one just like it, people who aren't necessarily investing in that part of the community. So permit me an analogy before my time is up. When we go to the Smokies and we're looking to hit the park and we want to see nothing but beauty, we go through Townsend because it is planned and zoned properly. Sometimes when we go through Pigeon Forge, we may have fun, but we generally see kind of a mess because it wasn't planned and logistically zoned properly. And that's why we defer to y'all's expertise to keep the things on the clean side. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Anyone else?
Can I ask a question?
Hold on just a second. Go ahead, sir. Come on up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Thank you. I'm Joe Baker. I live at 741 Pinnacle Point. I appreciate the opportunity to express my opinion here. I'll keep this short. I've lived in the area nearly 20 years, and I think the strongest point being made here, existing campsites that are in the area right now tend to be along the main entrance coming into Stardust Marina. And honestly, it's not the most attractive area, but we accept that, and that's kind of on the main drag going into the marina. The area that's being considered, I think as stated by some of the other individuals, is clearly off into the residential area. And it just seems inappropriate to have the mobile homes and trailers on the main drag start drifting over into the residential area. It just seems aesthetically and visually and perhaps, property value to us owners, perhaps detriment to mix them up like that. So I'd ask the commission to please look at how the layout is and how they start to bleed into one another if this area is rezoned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who hasn't spoke yet want to speak for or against? All right. Come on back up, sir, to the podium. Ask a question.
My question is, if this gets approved, in the planning stage of what they're gonna put there, is there any kind of public input, or is that up to the board only? Because I think if that was allowed and people saw what was really gonna be done, there might not be, or there may be more objection to it.
Danny, if I'm correct, they can attend the meetings, but the planning commission would be the ones that would make the approval of the site plans, is that correct?
Yes, they can attend and they could speak and voice their concern as well.
Is there a way to get a notice for that?
It will be publicized through our normal channels.
Yes. We don't send out letters or post the property for the planning commission meetings, but it is put in the newspaper, I think on the website and on TV. Of course, you could keep check with us as well.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But they meet on the second Tuesday, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Second Tuesday of each month.
Any further comments, Commissioner Isbell? Go ahead, sir.
And like now, if he wanted to put mobile homes in there, it wouldn't come back in front of this commission, it would only come through planning commission because in that district, mobile homes are allowed. So, and that's one of the things that we're taking up in the new rezoning things. We're going, like a mobile home district, so try to clarify some of this.
Thank you, sir. Any further comments from commission? Any further comments from? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Come right on up to the podium.
I forgot to mention earlier that several of the other condo owners are also opposed to this rezoning. They were not able to be here tonight, and several emails I know were sent to our District 3 county commissioners. I'm not sure if all of you are aware of that. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware it's not just the people in this room that are opposed to it. There were several emails sent opposing it as well. Thank you
ma'am.
very much for your time.
Any other commissioners? Sir, you've already spoken twice. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet tonight? All right, the public hearing will be closed. We'll be voting on this on our regular agenda that started at 6:30.
Let them take a break.